Jacqueline lost her mother to ovarian cancer when she was 14 years old. At that age, there are so many things you don't fully understand yet. You're still a child. You're still trying to make sense of this world. In Jacqueline's case, she was the youngest of 3. Her brother was away in the Air Force. In many ways, her sister became the matriarch of the family. And Jacqueline did what so many people do when grief feels too big, too confusing, or too unsupported. She pushed it down. But grief has a way of resurfacing. Now, all those years later, Jacqueline is 37 years old, and through motherhood, she now finds herself facing questions that many grieving parents quietly carry. Will I be here for my children? How long do I have? And if something were to happen to me, how would they navigate life without their mother? This conversation is about childhood loss, delayed grief, motherhood, fear, healing, and what happens when we finally find the language and the community to begin processing what we've carried for so long. This is the Grieve With Christa podcast, sponsored by Glad Community. I just want to thank you, Jackie, again, for being on this podcast, because I know that this is the first time that really you were ever able, that I think that the event, the live event, is the first time that you were ever able to really face this with your mom, right? Face the grief, face what happened, and to actually come face to face. And then it brings up all of these emotions, and now you're here talking about it. And that's why Glad was created, so that people don't have to grieve alone. And sometimes people have been in grief for 20, 25, 30, 50 years, and they don't even know it. They don't know how it affects their life and their everyday. So I want to ask you, at 14, Jackie, how was it to lose your mom at such a young age? Because it just shouldn't have happened.
Thank you for having me. It was very hard. There was a lot of questions that no one had the answers to. And some answers they did have, and I wouldn't understand either way, because I was 14. I was currently the only child at that time, just because my brother was away in the Air Force in Korea, and my sister was in the Army, and she had to pretty much get out, to kind of take care of me in the process as we helped my dad navigate through all of this. We had to contact the Red Cross, have my brother, shipped back from Korea to come and face, the fact that my mom was gone, and he thought he had more time, right? We always think we have more time, but we don't. So it was very difficult. I mean, it still is difficult.
How many years ago was that now?
Over 20 years ago, about 23.
Over 23 years ago.
Yeah.
So after you came to that first Glad event, what did you feel as far as talking about it? Because I feel like when you first came, you were so closed, and now you're here on a podcast with me.
I'm just seeing everyone else grieving still after so many years. I just felt like I wasn't alone. I feel like people carry grief differently. Some people say, it's too long, it doesn't get easier, but, you kind of just gotta, and that's the thing, we kind of just move on. We kind of just continue with our everyday life, so we don't stop and take the time to grieve.
And that's how it was when I was younger. Get over it. Get over it. There was no grieving. So at 14 years old, like what was grief to you at 14? What did that look like? What did you feel?
In my family, mental health wasn't really like a thing. And I feel like being so young, I don't think they ever realized how much it affected me. Just because I was the youngest. I didn't get to live everything that my siblings lived with my mother. So it's a little. So
did you feel alone at 14? You felt alone because at that point, I mean, was your dad probably wasn't even able to understand.
Have the answers. He didn't even have the answers for himself. I don't think he still has the answers for himself.
So at 14, do you think which way? Because sometimes at 14, I've known kids that went a little crazy that did. What path do you think how did this affect you, and what path do you think that it brought you to?
Well, it kind of molded me, to kind of just pick up and keep going. You know, at 14, I did become a little rebellious. You know, I did the normal high school, skipping school, you know, want to hang out with my friends. Everything annoys me. Everything is boring. So I kind of just gravitated towards my friends a little more than I did my family, just because they did not have the answers for me, right? So you want me to keep just living, then I'm just going to keep living. You know, and my friends are going to help me since you guys don't have the answers for me.
I could see that. So you felt alone, like you couldn't even talk about it. Do you feel like this is the first time you're actually able to talk about your grief with your mom?
Yes.
Okay, so after 20-something years. What's the reason you think you couldn't talk about her? Is it that your family didn't want it, like your dad after? Is it that everybody just shut down and it was like, she's not here, so we don't say anything?
Yeah, everyone just shut down and just kind of kept living. As I mentioned, like mental health wasn't around, like just expressing yourself wasn't around. I don't feel, at least not in my home, I've never felt that. I feel like I'm more expressive now as an adult, just because I kind of just made my own way and kind of just wanted to just cut that and teach my kids that.
We have a grief coach, Susanna Gilbertson, with GLAD, that she has a program, Motherless Mothers. She lost her mother a month before she had her first daughter. So I know that you have children. How do you think that has affected you as a mother, not having a mother?
A lot.
Growing up with one as a teenager.
A lot. I just feel like, when am I going to go? Am I going to leave them? What age am I going to leave them? And it's scary. Because I just count, you know, the years that my mom was when she passed and all of that. And it hindered me from celebrating Mother's Day a lot. And I feel like this year was one of the first times that I actually felt safe and able to do that. And not feel emotional all over the place. I was able to celebrate with my kids because it's not their fault, you know, and I am still here.
Yeah. And that's what happened with my grandmother. You know, it's like, are you going to die? Like her whole life she was just frozen with fear. And she always lived in like a flight or fight phase, you know, in her life. Like, are you going to die? Are you here? Where's this one? Where's that one? And that's the hopes too of GLAD, right? To be able to, because that fills me up when I hear you say that, because this was your first Mother's Day. And a lot of people don't know, but Jackie has joined the GLAD community as a director of marketing, and I'm beyond grateful to have you.
Thank you.
More than you know. So this is a little bit personal. But I have just seen you. I didn't know at the event this was going to be. You would be part of GLAD. But I did just watch your journey. And this is, like I said, why I created it. Because if people aren't able to talk about it, get their grief out. This was the first Mother's Day in over 20 years that you were able to smile, to enjoy it with your children. Because somebody listened to your grief, right? You got it out. And that's what I'm hearing for so many people, is just talking about it. No matter if you are 14, 15, 20, 30, you need to release it. You need to talk about it, so that it doesn't keep us stuck in ways in life with the fear, the anxiety. Because I was saying to Nanny, I'm an hour away. My grandmother, you know, and then it went to my mother. You know, it trickled to my mother, and our whole, even though we were Italian, we worried anyway. But everything was, you know, oh my God, you know. And the fear started from, you know, it was my grandmother, right? She ran the family, and then she gave it to my mother, and then I didn't let it trickle to me, right? That's because I'm like,
stop that.
You learn to look at it a different way and reconnect with just life in general, because you don't know, you know, nobody's guaranteed tomorrow. So you take this time, and you don't want to live it with fear and anxiety. You want to live it with love, loving your children, not letting them, you see, like, oh, she, you know, fear or doubt or anxiety, like, am I going to die? Am I going to be here? Am I going to leave my kids? Because that's not how we're supposed to be. We're just supposed to be right, happy in the moment, in the flow, enjoying the life, not thinking of these things. And that's why your story, it made me think about my grandmother's too, the same thing, because you're just so young. And it's, you know, so what would you say to somebody if they're 14 years old right now and they just lost their mother? What advice would you give somebody at 14?
It doesn't get easier. I don't care what anybody says. You know, Again, we carry it differently. It does not get easier. I would literally, I would find the help. I would find the help. I would speak to your father or your mother, whoever your guardianship is at the time, and just don't be afraid to ask for help. Because I feel like the sooner you find it, the easier life will be.
Because do you feel like in these 20 years of not really facing it and talking about it, do you feel like your whole life has been affected in those years for it?
Yes.
Of holding it in? Because you've had a big release with this, just the glad, this whole, and it's my heart. This is why I'm doing, because I've watched so many people like you, right? I could help you in this moment. I help you with your loved one. And then it's like afterwards, I've just watched so many people not able to talk about it and shut down. And it doesn't matter, like I said, what age. It doesn't matter. And you see, even after 20 years, you have to release this. Yeah. And if we can do this, maybe within the first year, I tell people the first year is the hardest, right? You go through the birthday, you go through the holidays. And in that first year, if we can do something and really come in there to say, it's okay, let's reconnect with your loved one. Let's help you through this. I'm going to just be here for you.
I do want to say what was harder for me now as an adult. I don't feel like I have much to look back at, just because there's so much social media now, and so many posts, and when I see that, that does affect me. Social media does affect me, just because I don't feel like I have enough to share with the world about my mom. I don't feel like I had enough time.
If you can just share a little bit about what your mom was like.
Well, for me, it was different because I was the youngest, so I kind of got away with a lot of things. It was, the Sunday fun day, going out with your parents and your siblings. And, the regular Monday through Saturday was mom cooking for my dad, who would come home on his lunch breaks. She would walk, picked us up from the front of the house. That's where the bus would drop us off, Same with my brother and my sister. I feel like we were a normal family. We did normal things. I mean, back then, what was normal, right? I mean, we lived in Miami. We would go to Bayside a lot. We would ride the boat. That was kind of what we did as a family. But my mom in general she was tough. She was tough, but there was a reason for it, and I'm realizing that now.
Yeah. Was her passing unexpected, or did you guys know that? Was she sick?
I don't know if anybody knows this, but as a child, like, I was always around, and I would always notice that she would eat dinner, and then every night, like, she would just throw up. She would just throw up in the trash can, wrap up the trash can, and throw it out. And I saw that for many years. I think when she finally got sick, I think she already knew what it was. I remember going to a doctor with my dad, Spanish doctor, and obviously, you don't hear what you want to hear. So, I remember my dad just storming out and saying, we're going to take her to this hospital and kind of see what happens. And so we did, and they ran tests. They really couldn't find, the root of the problem. But I feel like this whole time she knew. She would talk to my dad about it. They would have private conversations. I mean, conversations, and I'm sure that I don't know half of what was said, but just her dying wishes, I don't know how much he honored that, because I don't know what they spoke about, but it was, I feel like it was harder for me to process it, being younger and seeing what I saw, because I'm not sure anybody else saw that. So it was kind of like, do I tell dad, or, do I just keep it to myself? Obviously, I kept it to myself, but I'm pretty sure my dad probably knew too.
Yeah. And were you there? You weren't there when she passed. Did you know Wait, did he know, or it was unexpected when she did pass?
So my mom had an older daughter, and she came the day of Mother's Day. She passed away May 15th, and she came on Mother's Day and said, I'm going to try to get her treated at a cancer center. Unfortunately, it was too late. She did pass 2 days later in Miami, which is why she's laid to rest in Miami. Bringing the body and everything, we kind of just wanted her to have comfort too. And then, our roots are, they were based in Miami. So that kind of just made sense. I do feel like my dad does regret it though, sometimes, just because he doesn't have somewhere to go and, unless he travels 4 hours, which could be a good thing because I think, he would still be stuck, if she was closer.
Did you ever spend time with your dad and just talk about stories about her and ask him about that? Or do you think that that was hard for him after she passed?
It was hard for him. It still is. He'll, he still has pictures of her. He still has her clothes, He didn't remarry, but he does have someone that's been around for about 20 years. So, but I don't think I've been able to do that. No.
No. Did you ever ask for help as a teenager?
No.
You never asked for help? What made you not ask for help?
20-something years ago, I don't think it was as common as it is now. So it was a little scary. Also, navigating your emotions at that age, when do you know when you need help, so that.
Did you have grandparents?
No, I didn't grow up
with grandparents either. So it was, you didn't have a grandmother to come in and.
No.
So what would you say your biggest challenges then throughout your life has been that you haven't dealt with this grief?
Looking at my kids every day. It's a blessing, but it also is a challenge just because, I want to make good choices for them. I want to be around forever, but I know that's not the case. So it is a challenge every day to obviously provide for them and be present with everything going on in the world.
Do you still have those thoughts that I'm going to die and not be here for my kids?
It's not a constant thought. It's just, my mom was still young and, I'm getting, older. And as I get older, those are things that I do think about just because, you get older.
Because a lot of people do have those thoughts. Like I do get that a lot. I get that so much that it's just that it replays like, am I going to die? Am I going to die? Am I going to die? And my mind sometimes replays, do I have to live this long? Do I have to live this long? I joke about it. I don't think that we should live like that because it's, when I tell people to, right? I don't believe we ever die. We're just rolling over here, to create that connection. Have you had any encounters in these over 20 years that you got signs from your mom, messages that that she's still here with you?
I'll have just every now and then dreams. I have never really seen her. My sibling has, my older brother has. I haven't been as fortunate, but he was the only boy, so I can see that.
But sometimes you get other signs, though. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, but nothing. I mean, maybe there has been, and I'm just.
You're missing it.
Yeah.
And that happens too. A lot of people when they're blocked because they're so angry a lot of times, even after 10, 20 years, they're just angry from this loss. And I tell people if we're so angry, we do block the signs, we block the connection. It's almost like if they were here physically with you and you were angry at them, you don't really have much of a connection. Right. So that's why I haven't seen anybody make it out alive. Death is the only thing guaranteed in taxes, I would tell people. It is. So when we look at it like that, like, okay, we're going to die one day, right? Because a lot of people are also in denial. They don't want to. When my stepdad got the stroke and, he was dying, I said, did you ever think you would die? And he's like, no. And I'm like, Did you think you were going to live forever? He's like, I never thought about it. I'm like, you're old, you're overweight, you're unhealthy. People don't think about it. But the truth is that it's part of life, like birth and death, right? We're kind of coming and going. And that's why I say cherish your connections and your relationships with people, because you don't know. If we spend the rest of our living life here thinking, how long do I have, and worrying with fear and doubt, we miss the little things in life, like playing with our kids. And I remember back in the day, I was always, I have to type of person. And we don't have to do anything, right? We just have to sometimes take a deep breath and breathe and just know it's okay. All right. So what else you want to tell the world? Because this is this is so heavy. I always try to make it light. Nothing, you want to find laughter somehow in this. Because it's heavy, but it's so common that people do lose their mom at a young age.
Yeah. I just want to let everyone know it's okay. You don't have to grieve alone. I found great people that are helping me through it. So.
And I think with the GLAD program, because you didn't start with it. You just came to the event just as sitting there. Yeah. What do you think that this is going to be able to do for the world? Because we do have if you're 6 to 12-year-old group, we do have different age groups for kids navigating the loss of a parent. So with this GLAD community, what do you think about it?
I love it. I love, you don't want to connect to something, right? So terrible, but I mean, it's life. And I feel like this is a really good thing. And again, I don't feel like people should have to grieve alone. I've done it and it's hard.
What I think is so awesome, though, is this is your first Mother's Day that you were actually able to smile and enjoy it with your children, because you were able to release this grief that you've had stored in you for over 20 years. And it makes me think about this lady too. She was married and her husband passed like 32 years ago, and she dedicated a whole room to him. This room was just cluttered with all of his pictures, all of his stuff. And she said, I just sit in here because I don't know how to get over him. And I'm like, it's like 32 years. And the woman every day this was her life and we don't want to live in a box like that, because we don't know. You're right. We don't know how much time that we have, but whatever time we have, we want it to be great. Yeah. And your mom would want that too, for your children, for everybody. How do you feel that you are overcoming this grief now, since you opened it up?
I feel like it's going to get better the more I talk about it. I mean, I haven't really talked about it, so this is just the beginning of it.
And what's interesting too is that your father, it sounds like he has not grieved the loss of your mother either.
No.
And that's common, right? If you lost a mother or a father, it doesn't. The other parent that's left living usually does not deal with it, and they don't know how. And then it affects the rest of the kids, and then it just trickles down, and we don't realize that it was from a death and it was from loss.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it has been.
With your siblings as well too, you think?
Yes.
So your whole family has not grieved. Now, do you think since you're opening up a little bit more, you've been talking to them about your mom more?
Yeah. My brother's a little standoffish, just because he was taught a certain way because of the military. So I think it's a little different for him. He carries everything inside. My sister's a little more emotional, just not with everybody.
Anything else that you want to tell us with your grief and this whole journey to tell the world? Because a lot of people are suffering that don't have mothers like you.
Just make every day count, don't let this world, not make you want to live. Again, there's always a listening ear, and you're not alone.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jackie. This episode of Grieve with Christa is brought to you by GLAD, a community dedicated to supporting grief walkers with connection, tools, and truth. Because grief isn't something to fix, it's something to honor. For more information on GLAD, click the link in the video description.